Hello, everybody. My name is Joseph Cobena, and today I'll be talking about how GIFs and memes have become a new form of digital communication. So very similar to how early humans and cave paintings. Back in the day, we now use visual media online to express emotions, ideas, and even like political opinions. GIFs and memes basically just go beyond just language barriers, and they reshape how we connect in the modern world. And just to add some of my own personality, I decided to use some of the memes and GIFs that I use with my friends and family. So to start off with, humans have always needed to express themselves from like you, let's say back in the day where you needed to use survival instincts and you wanted to warn others and like danger, for example. So you use like visual communication. And then as I mentioned in the introduction or in the first page with the cave painting, so they would use those kind of illustrations. So now we have more creative outlets like film and photography, and with images that remain one of the most universal forms of communications today. So that's why it makes sense that we use GIFs and memes as like our like reactions in a way to like storytelling online. So I say that GIFs and memes matter because they're basically accessible. They are accessible to everybody. They communicate emotion without needing to like necessarily use words, sentences, etc. And they help build this culture online that can be shared with everyone. So then also politically, they're powerful because it shows that the research with the memes can influence public opinion, political participation, and even policy. So they just like help spread quickly with emotional tense and very impactful with communication tools today. So where did they rise from? So I said the rise of GIFs and memes started with the early internet, which gave people global access to information and social connection. GIFs were originally created in 1987 just for image storage and compression, so it was not necessarily meant for cultural expression. However, humans naturally adapted like to use them and rely on them for emotion or for online reaction. And now today that kind of translated as this form of body language in the internet where it helps convey a tone where plain text on its own is falls short. So it has evolved beyond its original purpose to have this creative sense. Um, GIFs and memes have resurfaced in the early 2000s on platforms such as MySpace. So it was one of the first few social media sites that have launched since. And for example, where like teenagers, especially where they use them to identify and express themselves in an emotional sense. Since then, smartphones have made them more common and more a part of our everyday communication. So, all in all, they have stuck because they are very fast, expressive, better than texting at times, and they show that kind of tone. So overall, they like became deeply embedded into our culture, and now shape how we communicate daily. Today, GIFs and memes work like universal visual shorthand. So, like the emotion or like the thought that's trying to be invoked is like understood instantly. So because of this, they're easy to create, spread, and people frequently turn like nowadays, like with pop culture or like friends into memes. So it helps build this like sense of community, and then it also helps build like humor and personality traits to people. So in modern society nowadays, memes help drive trends, shape online culture, and even give people a way to express themselves without needing like long explanations or like confusion, confusing explanations. With political activism, so GIFs and memes have become powerful tools in political activism. For example, in Nepal, Gen Z used memes to mobilize protests related to corruption and unemployment. So it basically tackles stronger matters into like these form of memes and gifs. So because they trigger strong emotions by still using simple yet complex issues, they made political messages feel personal and urgent. So with over half of the population under 30, visual context help unite youth movements and contribute to real political change. Moreover, memes and politics. So let's say in the United States, meme culture plays like a major role in politics by turning complex issues into short, emotional visuals. So we've seen this, like for example, let's say with our most recent presidency with Donald Trump, people have turned events such as January 6th or events with Bernie Sanders, something as simple as him just sitting down in a chair, but it was very viral and very popular with memes. So you can have these like positive and negative forces, and then they are encouraged to have this like engagement and awareness. At the same time, they can also spread misinformation and radicalize groups, as seen in all politics. So because of this, it's in a way seen as bite-sized emotional symbols that are easy to share but hard to fact check, for sure. So moving on, how can gifs and memes be dangerous? They can also threaten authority by using humor and satire to criticize leaders. So it going goes back to when I said earlier, where it has like these complex issues, and then just making them very simple and humorous. For example, we have China. They censor memes comparing its president to specific memes, such as like let's say Winnie the Pooh, because what it does is it weakens his public image. So in a way, it shows that memes aren't always going to be seen as jokes, but in a sense of political issues, it's seen as a form of resistance. So authoritarian governments understand how powerful and how trendy GIFs and viral imagery can be, which is why they try to control it. All right, and for my conclusion, I basically stated that human communication has evolved from cave paintings to digital visuals, and overall GIFs represent the newest stage of that evolution. So, to sum up, they're very fast, emotional, and accessible, and understood worldwide. They influence politics, mobilize movements, and challenge authority altogether, but they also carry risks such as misinformation, or propaganda. However, overall, GIFs and memes aren't just trends, they're powerful communication tools that continue to shape culture, public opinion, and society in lasting ways, even with friends and family.